Welcome to the sleep hours. Tonight we return to a world shimmering with magic, friendships, and secrets whispered through starlit hallways. The realm of Alfea, a place where young fairies learn to shape spells, find their courage, and discover the spark that makes them extraordinary. But while the sun sleeps, Alfea awakens in a different way. Soft lanterns float above ancient corridors. Enchanted winds hum lullabies across crystalline towers, and the night sky glitters like a map of forgotten spells. The dorm rooms shimmer with soft spells and warm light. Inside one of those rooms, 6 fairies gather: Bloom, Stella, Flora, Musa, Aisha, and Tecna, each surrounded by the cozy glow of their own magic. So close your eyes, breathe in the magic, and drift with us into the fairy-lit quiet of Alfea Academy. Alfea was finally quiet after one of those long, endless days that seemed to stretch across every class and every hallway. The sun was slipping behind the crystal towers, leaving the sky painted in soft lavender, and inside the Winx dorm, the girls were gathered in a loose, tired circle. Bloom stretched her arms above her head with a groan that sounded half exhausted, half relieved. "Okay," she said. "We need a break. Like a real break. Tonight should be just us. Calm, chill, no missions, no surprises." That was all it took. Stella's eyes lit up instantly, almost sparkling with leftover sunshine. "A sleepover!" she declared, tossing her hair back dramatically. "Finally someone says it. I've been waiting for days to use my new star lamps." Musa laughed, nudging her with a pillow. "You mean the ones that blink too fast and make everyone dizzy?" Stella gasped in fake offense, but the grin on her face gave her away. Flora set down a basket she had brought from the greenhouse, filled with soft, glowing blossoms. Their petals hummed a gentle tune that felt like the end of a perfect day. "I brought something to help everyone relax," she said, her voice warm and soothing as always. The flowers pulsed lightly, filling the room with a fragrant, sleepy breeze. Tecna was already scanning the dorm with her holo tablet, adjusting the brightness and temperature as if preparing a miniature universe. "I'm optimizing the lighting to perfect sleep mode," she stated, though Musa snickered when one of the lights flickered pink for a moment. "Tecna, I think your sleep mode is blushing." Aisha entered with her arms full of enchanted blankets, still sparkling with tiny droplets of water from her magic. "And I'm cooling the room. Trust me, we are not spending the night sweating after today's training." She swept her hand through the air, and a refreshing wave glided across the dorm, making the curtains flutter. Bloom looked around at her friends, feeling warmth bloom in her chest. This not battles or tests or magical chaos was what she missed the most. The simple, easy moments where they were just the Winx. They started gathering everything they needed. Stella summoned her star lamps, though she accidentally created 10 instead of 2, and they began floating around the room like excited golden fireflies. Musa tapped her fingers on a floating crystal speaker, and soft music drifted upward like a lullaby carried by air. Flora arranged her flowers so their glow blended with Tecna's lighting, giving the room an enchanted twilight feel. Midnight snacks came next, courtesy of Bloom's bravery sneaking into the Alfea kitchen, and the girls immediately circled around the platter of moon cookies and shimmering berry tea. Their laughter echoed in the cozy space, bouncing off enchanted pillows and stacks of class notes. There was no pressure, no rush, just the soft rustle of blankets, the occasional spark of uncontrolled magic, and the feeling that tonight might finally be the peaceful moment they'd needed for days. But as they rearranged a mountain of pillows and argued playfully over who would sit where, Bloom paused. Her eyes drifted toward the window. "Hey, did anyone leave a lantern outside?" The others followed her gaze. Beyond the glass, just past the faint outline of the courtyard, a soft glow hovered in the air. not bright enough to alarm them, more like a gentle shimmer, almost like the school itself was breathing magic into the night. Aisha tilted her head. "What is that?" No one knew. But the glow didn't move away. It lingered, as if watching, as if waiting for the sleepover to truly begin. The girls exchanged curious glances, but Stella was the first to brush it off with a dramatic wave of her hand. "It's probably just some enchanted garden lamp Flora forgot to turn off," she said confidently, even though Flora immediately shook her head. "No, that's not one of mine. My lamps don't float. At least not anymore." Bloom narrowed her eyes playfully. "Should we be worried?" she asked, half joking. Musa plucked a pillow from the couch and tossed it onto the growing pile in the center of the room. "Not unless it starts knocking on the window. Then I vote we make Tecna handle it." Tecna didn't even look up from her tablet. "I already handle most things," she replied in her calm, matter-of-fact tone. "If there's a floating anomaly outside our window, I would appreciate at least a snack beforehand." That made the girls laugh again, and just like that, the tension broke. The glow outside remained where it was, soft, steady, almost comforting. And the Winx returned to creating their perfect, cozy den. Aisha finished weaving the enchanted blankets into a soft, layered nest on the floor. "Okay," she said proudly, stepping back. "Tell me that does not look like the comfiest place in the entire school." It really did. The blankets glimmered faintly like melted moonlight, shifting just enough to match each person's preferred softness. Stella was fussing over her star lamps, trying to reduce the number she'd accidentally conjured. "Ugh, why won't they stop duplicating? They're like sparkly little gremlins." She finally managed to merge them down to 3 lamps, which floated in a triangle above the room, giving off a soft, warm shine. "There," she said triumphantly. "Perfect lighting for a sleepover. You're welcome." Meanwhile, Flora was arranging her glowing lullaby flowers in small clusters around the room. "These should help everyone relax," she said as the petals pulsed rhythmically. A faint tune drifted through the room, gentle and soothing, almost like a heartbeat made of light. Bloom plopped down onto a large pillow, pulling her hair into a loose bun and letting out a content sigh. "You know," she said, "I sometimes forget how nice it is to just be here. No emergencies, no new villains." Musa sat next to her, hugging her knees to her chest. "Honestly, I feel like I've been running non-stop lately. This was a good idea. We needed this." Tecna closed her hollow tablet and took a seat as well, the corners of her mouth softening. "I recalibrated the dorm's sound barriers," she announced, "so we won't disturb anyone, and no one will disturb us." Stella immediately perked up. "Did you block Griselda's late-night patrol footsteps? Because last time, she scared the glitter right out of me." Tecna gave her a tiny smirk. "Yes, even those." Another wave of laughter filled the room. This was the warm, effortless rhythm the Winx always slipped into when they were together. Each girl added her own energy. Stella's dramatic flair, Musa's quiet humor, Aisha's steady calm, Flora's gentle warmth, Tecna's precise intelligence, and Bloom's heartfelt leadership. And yet, every now and then, one of them would glance at the window. The soft glow still hovered there, like a silent guest at their sleepover. Suddenly, a breeze drifted through the room. The curtains shimmered as though touched by unseen magic. Flora turned her head, her expression thoughtful. Did anyone feel that? It was almost like... She paused, searching for the right word. Like the school exhaled. Bloom looked toward the window again. The glow flickered once as if responding. But instead of fear, the girls felt a strange comfort wash over them. Whatever it wasn't dark or threatening. It felt curious. peaceful. Maybe even excited about the night they were sharing. Stella shrugged and tossed a pillow into the center of the room. Well, if it wants to watch, it better enjoy the show, because the Winx Sleepover is officially starting. And with that, the room buzzed with soft magic, warm lights, and the unmistakable coziness of 6 best friends settling into a perfect night. The girls began to settle deeper into the cozy nest they'd created, each one sinking into the cushion as though the entire dorm had transformed into a warm cloud. Bloom reached for the bowl of moon cookies and passed it around. They were shaped like tiny crescents, dusted with silver sugar that shimmered in the low light. Stella grabbed 2 immediately. "Don't judge me," she said with her mouth full. "Sleepovers mean double dessert." Aisha laughed softly. "Stella, everything means double dessert for you." Stella pointed a cookie at her. "And that's why I'm the fun one." Musa rolled her eyes affectionately. Sure. Keep telling yourself that." Flora leaned back against a stack of enchanted pillows, watching the others with a serene smile. The soft glow of her flowers reflected in her eyes, making them look as if tiny stars were floating inside them. "I'm just glad we're doing this," she said. "Sometimes the simplest nights become the ones we remember the most." Tecna adjusted herself into a more comfortable position, her posture relaxing in a way she didn't often allow. Agreed. Statistically, shared downtime boosts group morale and emotional balance. Stella groaned dramatically. "Tecna, please. We are trying to have a sleepover, not a lecture." Tecna blinked at her, genuinely confused. That was my fun voice. The entire room erupted into laughter again, even Tecna, who tried to hide her smile but failed. With the lights dimmed to a soft blush and the star lamps floating lazily above them, the room took on a dreamlike glow. Everything felt warm, gentle, protected. Musa adjusted the floating crystal speakers so the music softened into an ambient melody that wrapped around them like a whisper. "There," she said. "Now it sounds like we're inside a lullaby." Bloom hugged one of the larger pillows, the kind that practically melted when you leaned into it. "This is perfect," she murmured. "I've needed a night like this for so long." Aisha nodded. "Same. Training's been intense lately. I didn't realize how exhausted I was until now." Flora brushed her fingertips lightly over one of her glowing flowers. It released a sweet fragrance, soft enough to calm without making anyone sleepy too soon. "Just breathe," she said quietly. "Let everything settle." The room fell into a peaceful lull, each girl wrapped in the comfort of the moment. But as gentle as the atmosphere was, the mysterious glow outside the window quietly persisted, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat made of starlight. Eventually, Musa noticed it again. She nudged Bloom with her elbow. "Okay, I know we're ignoring it," she whispered, "but it's still there." Bloom glanced over her shoulder. The glow hadn't moved, but somehow it felt closer, like it was paying attention. "It's harmless," Bloom said softly, though there was a thoughtful curve to her brow. "If it was anything dangerous, we'd feel it." Stella, sprawled across 3 pillows as if she was the queen of the dorm, lifted her head just enough to look at the window. "Well, it's definitely getting front-row seats to this sleepover. I hope it's enjoying the show." A gentle flutter of wind drifted through the room again, stirring their hair and rustling the pages of a spell book lying nearby. That same peaceful energy swept through the dorm, warm, curious, alive. Flora's expression softened. "It doesn't feel unfriendly," she said. "It's almost like Alfea itself is glowing tonight." Aisha leaned forward, elbows on her knees. "Is that a thing? Can the school, glow?" Tecna considered it. "Alfea is built on layers of ancient magic. In theory, the structure could respond to emotional energy." She paused, then added more quietly, "especially positive energy. The idea seemed to settle into the air like another soft spark of magic. Stella flopped back down. Well, if Alfea wants to join the sleepover, it better bring snacks. Musa chuckled. Yeah. A floating building spirit better show up with cookies, or it's not invited. Another wave of laughter filled the room, but beneath it all, the glow shimmered again, brighter this time, as though something outside was smiling. The Winx didn't know it yet, but this night was only beginning. The room grew even cozier as the night deepened. The star lamps dimmed themselves to a gentle golden haze. Musa's soft music drifted like a warm breeze, and Flora's flowers created tiny floating lights that moved lazily through the air. Everything felt perfectly balanced, the kind of quiet, magical calm that made the rest of the world feel far away. Bloom stretched out among the pillows, her hair creating fiery red waves across the cushions. Okay, she said softly. Now it truly feels like the night's beginning. Aisha settled beside her with a relieved sigh. Finally. No training drills, no spell practice, no weird pop quizzes from Professor Whizgiz. Stella raised her hand in the air without lifting her head. I vote we ban homework for the rest of the night. Musa flicked a pillow at her. There is no homework tonight. You literally made that up so you could ban something dramatically. Stella accepted this with zero shame. Flora reached for the shimmering berry tea Bloom had brought from the kitchen and poured it into tiny enchanted cups. The tea glowed faintly, swirling like liquid stardust. Here, she said gently. A small cup before we start anything else. It helps the mind unwind. Tecna accepted hers with an appreciative nod. I analyzed the ingredients earlier. The calming effects are perfectly safe. Stella groaned into her blanket. Tecna, I swear, if you analyze this sleepover one more time... I'm not analyzing, Tecna replied, sipping her tea. I'm appreciating. They all giggled at that, and little by little the room fell into that wonderful, peaceful rhythm only true friends can create. The music floated, the lights flickered softly, and a sweet stillness settled over them. For a while they simply talked, not about battles or spells or responsibilities, but about small, silly moments from the week. Stella accidentally turning her hair green during a transformation exercise. Musa trying a high note in the music hall and shattering 3 crystal vases. Aisha tripping during training and pretending she meant to slide across the floor. Even Tecna confessed she had tried to emotionally bond with her computer earlier, and it had crashed immediately. The more they laughed, the more the glow outside their window responded. At first, it pulsed gently. Then, as the conversation grew warmer and more joyful, it brightened just a little, like a quiet echo of their energy. Eventually, Bloom noticed again and nudged Stella. Look, she whispered. It's glowing brighter now. Stella stared, squinting. Okay, that's kind of adorable. It's like a giant magical firefly. Musa tilted her head, studying it. Or a lantern that forgot how to be a lantern. Tecna lifted her device and scanned, but the screen flickered with soft static. Strange. My sensors are reading it as ambient magic, as if it isn't a thing but a feeling. Flora's eyes widened slightly, the flowers around her humming in response. That makes sense, she murmured. Alfea has ancient roots. Maybe something in the school is reacting to our energy tonight. Aisha's expression softened with a slow smile. Well, it feels peaceful. So whatever it is, it's not a bad thing. The girls settled again, each one instinctively drawn closer to the warmth of their shared nest. Musa changed the music to a slower, dreamier tune that drifted like a lullaby drifting through moonlight. Stella tucked herself deeper under her blanket. We should make sleepovers a weekly event, she mumbled. Mandatory relaxation night. Bloom leaned her head back, letting her eyes drift halfway shut. I'm all for that. But even for us, this night feels different. Flora nodded, fingers brushing one of her glowing flowers. In a good way. Like Alfea wants us to rest, to breathe. None of them knew how right she was. A gentle wind moved through the room again, but this time it wasn't just a breeze. It felt intentional, delicate, warm, almost like the school itself whispering through the curtains. The glow outside shimmered one last time before slowly dimming to a soft, sleepy haze. Stella yawned dramatically. Okay, glow thing, good night. Don't get lonely without us. That earned her another round of laughter before the room drifted back into a quiet calm. They didn't chase the mystery. They didn't worry. They simply let the night wrap around them like a blanket woven from light, friendship, and magic. And somewhere beyond their window, Alfea watched with a gentle, ancient awareness, patient, peaceful, and waiting for the moment when the girls would finally discover what the glow truly meant. For now, though, the Winx were warm, safe, and completely immersed in the comfort of the perfect beginning to their magical sleepover night. The glow outside the window faded into the quiet night, leaving the dorm wrapped in that warm, peaceful hush only a perfect sleepover can create. The Winx were still nestled among their blankets and pillows, but now a spark of excitement replaced their earlier exhaustion. Musa shifted upright, brushing stray strands of hair behind her ear. So, what now? We have the whole night ahead of us. Stella shot up as if someone had cast a spell on her. Games, she announced dramatically, as though she'd been waiting hours for someone to ask. Sleepover games, magical ones. Flora giggled softly. Stella, everything we do is magical. Stella shook her head. No, I mean fun magic. Cute magic. Like the kind that won't get us a lecture from Griselda tomorrow. Tecna tapped her chin thoughtfully. There is a spellcasting activity I've been wanting to test. It's a small-scale projection spell, low risk. The way she said it almost made it sound boring, but Bloom leaned forward with interest. Projection spell? What does it do? Tecna activated a tiny holographic cube that floated above her palm. Each of us casts a simple spell that reflects a personal wish for the future. The spell converts the emotion behind the wish into a visual projection. Stella blinked. You mean we make sparkly magic that says what we want in life? Yes. Yes, I want that. Aisha plucked a star lamp floating overhead and held it like a lantern. As long as it's safe. I don't want anything exploding. Musa nudged her. Relax. This spell sounds like the magical version of mood lighting. Bloom smiled, feeling a gentle warmth in her chest. All right, let's do it. It sounds meaningful. Flora placed her basket of flowers in the center of their nest, and the petals glowed brighter as if approving the idea. Tecna adjusted the settings on her tablet, then projected a soft sphere of light into the middle of the room. When you cast your spell, direct it toward the sphere. It will interpret it into a harmless projection. Think of it like a magical wish lantern. Stella clapped her hands together. Okay, I volunteer to go first before I change my mind or get distracted by my own beauty. The girls laughed as Stella stood, shook out her hair like she was about to take a photo shoot, and summoned a tiny burst of golden magic in her palms. Future wish. Future wish, she muttered dramatically, narrowing her eyes in concentration. Her magic shimmered into a warm glow, full of bright little flecks. She gently pushed it toward Tecna's projection sphere. For a moment, nothing happened. Then whoosh! The sphere burst into a flurry of sparkling butterflies made of pure light. They fluttered around the room, scattering tiny beams of gold on the walls and ceiling. Stella gasped. Look at them. They're gorgeous. Musa smirked. Of course your wish turns into fashion butterflies. Stella didn't even try to deny it. If my dreams aren't fabulous, then what's the point? Bloom rose next, holding her hands out as gentle flame gathered between her fingers. Her magic wasn't sharp or blazing. It glowed like a soft ember, warm enough to comfort, gentle enough to calm. She sent her wish into the sphere. The projection shimmered before exploding into tiny floating sparks that drifted slowly downward, glowing like warm fireflies. Flora placed a hand over her heart. Bloom, that's beautiful. Bloom shrugged shyly. It's hope, I guess. Musa followed, closing her eyes and summoning a tiny, drifting, note-shaped spell. When it touched the sphere, the room filled with a soft melody, gentle, sweet, like a memory humming itself alive. Aisha grinned. Okay, now I'm excited. And outside, almost unnoticed, the glow returned not much brighter, not much closer, but undeniably there. Watching, listening, waiting. Aisha stood, rolling her shoulders like she was preparing for a training session rather than a tiny spell. All right, she said with a playful grin. Let's see what my future wish looks like. She formed a small orb of water in her hand, letting it swirl and glimmer as if it had a mind of its own. Her magic was always calmer at night, less like crashing waves and more like a tide breathing slowly. She gently guided the orb forward. When it touched Tecna's projection sphere, the room filled with dozens of tiny floating droplets. Each one caught the light of Stella's star lamps and shimmered like miniature moons. As they drifted, the droplets turned into glowing, hovering rings of water, softly rotating above the girls like halos. Stella whispered, Okay, that's weirdly majestic. Aisha smiled proudly. Balance and flow. That's kind of my whole thing. Next was Flora, who approached the sphere with a soft, shy smile. She held a single luminescent petal in her palm, glowing like a living pearl. Just something simple, she murmured. When she released it, the petal drifted toward the projection sphere as if carried by an invisible breeze. The instant it touched the light, the room blossomed. Dozens of glowing petals fluttered in slow spirals around them, filling the air like luminous flower snow. They drifted quietly, their hum soft and comforting, as if whispering secrets of the earth. Musa let out a breath. Flora, your magic feels like a lullaby. Flora's cheeks warmed. It's for harmony, for everyone around me. Then Tecna stepped forward. She didn't summon magic with dramatic flair or gentle gestures. Hers came with precision. 2 fingertips lifted, and a small beam of pale energy extended from them. It was clean, controlled, focused. She guided it toward the sphere. The reaction was instant. The sphere burst into thousands of tiny pixel stars that scattered across the room, forming constellations on the wall, the ceiling, and even across the blankets. They twinkled in sync, creating a quiet galaxy that seemed to breathe with them. Stella's mouth fell open. Tecna, why does your wish look like the screensaver of the universe? Tecna blinked, then smiled softly. It represents clarity and direction. Musa nudged her. Looks like you wished for a map of your future. Tecna shrugged lightly. Perhaps. And finally, Musa stood once more. Okay, I know I already did mine, she said. But I want to try something else. Bloom lifted a brow. Another wish? Musa gave a small smile. More like a melody for all of us. She closed her eyes and summoned a soft strand of turquoise magic. When she cast it into the sphere, the projection responded with gentle notes, drifting through the air, each one glowing faintly before dissolving like mist. But unlike before, these notes floated around each of the girls individually, matching their rhythm, their breathing, their energy. Bloom let out a peaceful breath. It feels like the room is singing to us. Aisha lay back on the pillows, arms folded behind her head. Now this is a sleepover. The girls remained surrounded by shimmering butterflies, drifting sparks, glowing petals, rotating water rings, pixel stars, and soft musical notes. Their wishes hung around them, like small worlds made of dreams. Slowly, their conversation shifted from magic to memories. Bloom was the first to speak. "Do you remember our first week at Alfea? I was so overwhelmed I nearly set the hallway carpets on fire." Stella snorted. "Nearly? Bloom, you did set them on fire. Griselda still avoids that corner." Bloom groaned into her pillow. Don't remind me," Aisha grinned. "Oh, please. You think that's embarrassing? I once tried doing a fancy water flip in the courtyard and ended up splashing the entire group of freshmen." Musa added, "I wasn't even mad. It was hot that day." Flora laughed softly before sharing one of her own memories, accidentally growing a vine so large it trapped her inside it. "Professor Palladium needed 3 spells and a pair of enchanted scissors to get me out," she admitted shyly. The girls laughed, but with affection, not teasing. Stella eventually sat upright again, hugging her pillow. "Honestly, nights like this are exactly what makes everything worth it. We save the world, we train, we nearly explode something every other week. But then we get this. Us. Together." The room fell quiet for a moment. Not from awkwardness or tension, but from a soft, shared warmth. And then Flora lifted her eyes. She felt it first. There, just outside the window, the glow had returned again. Softer. Closer. Moving. Not threatening. Almost inviting. Flora's voice dropped to a whisper. "Girls, it's back." And this time, none of them looked away. The girls hurried deeper into the night market, weaving themselves through clusters of floating scrolls, glowing potion bottles, and animated jewelry stands where bracelets hopped up and down like excited puppies. The air grew warmer as they approached the center of the bazaar, where a broad circular space opened beneath a vibrant ceiling of drifting lanterns. At the middle stood a booth decorated with shimmering curtains, each one embroidered with symbols that rearranged themselves like living ink. Behind the counter, a tall woman with silver eyes and hair that swirled like smoke regarded them with a calm, ancient smile. "Welcome, fairies," she said, her voice smooth and echoing just slightly as if layered. "You carry tangled magic, a recent disturbance, and a missing piece of yourselves." Her gaze passed over each of them, pausing a second longer on Bloom. "You seek what attacked the water nymph." Stella blinked dramatically. "Okay. Is everyone here psychic, or do I just have a needs help immediately written on my forehead?" Flora stepped forward, bowing her head politely. "We found a creature near the River of Whispers. It leaves no footprints, moves like smoke, and it's draining magic. We were told someone here might know more." The woman's silver eyes darkened. "What you describe is no creature. It is a shadow remnant, a fragment of lost magic given form. A thing that should never have been able to manifest inside Alfea's grounds." Bloom swallowed hard. "A remnant of what?" The woman leaned in, voice lowering, the lanterns flickering above them, as though reacting to her words. "A remnant of a broken realm, one that still breathes through cracks you cannot yet see." Musa tensed. "Please tell me this is just poetic vendor talk." But the woman didn't smile. She reached beneath her counter and slid forward a mirror, small, circular, its frame made of shifting black stone. The glass reflected nothing. Not the lanterns, not the girls, not even the vendor herself. "This is a null mirror," she said, "created to reveal the presence of remnant magic. If you carry this with you, the shadow will not be able to hide." Tecna hesitated, analyzing the object. a surface that provides no reflection. Curious. It's absorbing photons rather than redirecting them. No wonder... Tecna, Stella whispered. Honey, words. Right, Tecna sighed. It shows things you can't normally see. Got it. Bloom reached out and took the mirror. It pulsed faintly, a soft heartbeat of cold that traveled up her fingers and along her wrist before settling in her chest. She exhaled, surprised but steady. Flora looked to the vendor. If this shadow comes from a broken realm, why is it attacking here? Why now? The woman's gaze drifted over the lantern sky. Because something is waking. Something tied to the very first generation of fairies, and whatever lies in the cracks between realms wants to be seen again. Before the girls could ask more, the lanterns flickered. Hard. A sudden hush swept across the night market. Every floating scroll froze mid-air. Every hopping bracelet went still. The warm colors drained from the space like paint being pulled back into a brush. Bloom stiffened. Girls, something's wrong. A cold current rippled between the booths. The shadows beneath the tables stretched unnaturally long. A low whisper passed through the bazaar like wind scraping stone. Stella grabbed Musa's arm. Okay? Nope. This is horror movie energy. I didn't sign up for that. Then from the far end of the lane, a dark ripple formed, inky, swirling, familiar. The shadow remnant. But this time, it didn't drift like loose smoke. It gathered itself, contorting into something vaguely humanoid, something almost trying to stand. Its edges trembled violently, as if the form was too unstable to hold. Bloom lifted the null mirror. The shadow immediately snapped toward her. "Winx, transform!" Bloom cried. But before the magic could ignite, the shadow stretched forward with impossible speed, like a whip of darkness, cutting the distance in a blink, and the lanterns above burst. Night collapsed into total blackness. The marketplace vanished beneath a wave of shadow. The world vanished into a suffocating curtain of black. It wasn't just the lanterns going out. This darkness felt alive, pressing in on the girls like thick smoke. Bloom could barely see her own hand, yet she felt the null mirror in her grip vibrating, pulling like a compass toward something unseen. Around her she heard the others, Stella's sharp inhale, Musa's footsteps shifting cautiously, Flora calling softly to make sure everyone was close, Tecna frantically recalculating the safest formation in total sensory deprivation. "Stay together!" Bloom shouted, though her voice sounded strangely muffled, as if swallowed before it could travel far. The shadow moved around them, stretching and scraping across the space, its motion like a heavy breath, dragging through water. Then a whisper brushed Bloom's ear, not a voice, but an impression, a cold echo that made her pulse spike. "You see, but not enough." Bloom spun toward the sound, but there was nothing, just shifting black. She raised the null mirror higher, and its surface suddenly lit with a faint distortion, a ripple, like a heat wave in air. The distortion shot to the left, then behind her, then vanished. "Bloom?" Flora's voice quivered. "Where is it?" "Everywhere," Musa whispered. "It's like it's circling us." Stella tried to summon her magic, a spark of sunlight flickering against her palm. But the darkness smothered it instantly, as though it had been swallowed whole. "Excuse me," Stella snapped at the void. "That was a perfectly good spark." "Girls," Tecna said, her voice low but steady. "This darkness isn't just absence of light. It's feeding off ambient magic. Our attacks won't hold in this environment." "So what do we do?" Musa asked. "Talk it to death?" A sudden tug yanked at Bloom's wrist. She stumbled forward, clutching the mirror. Something unseen dragged her a step into the dark before releasing. She gasped, backing up quickly into Flora. "It's targeting the mirror," Bloom said, her heartbeat racing. Doesn't want to sing it. Before anyone could react, a thin streak of shadow slashed across the space, barely missing Stella as she dove out of the way with a yelp. That thing nearly sliced my hair, Stella cried. This is officially the worst shopping trip ever. The vendor's voice rang out suddenly, sharp and commanding, though they still couldn't see her. Fairies! The mirror is your anchor. Do not let it break. Her voice triggered something in the air. The curtains of her booth rustled, and dozens of small lanterns rose from beneath her stand. Lanterns filled with trapped fireflies, dozens of tiny flickering lights. They ignited all at once. The darkness recoiled like a wounded animal, peeling away just enough for the girls to see each other. Dim outline, shaken but together. Now, the vendor shouted. Bloom lifted the null mirror toward the heart of the remaining dark. Its surface rippled violently, registering the remnant's presence. The air grew colder, thicker. The shadow coiled, forming a distorted humanoid silhouette again, hunched and trembling as if forcing its shape into existence. And then its face lifted. A hollow mask of nothing. Empty. Endless. Flora shivered, whispering, That thing, it's suffering. The remnant lurched forward. Bloom braced herself, gripping the mirror tight. Light erupted, not from the lanterns, but from something deeper. Bloom didn't consciously summon it. It was instinct. Pure protective magic flaring from her core. A soft, warm flame burst around her like a shield. The shadow slammed against it and recoiled with a shriek that vibrated through the market stalls. Musa stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. Bloom, whatever you just did, do it again. I don't know what I did, Bloom said, trying to steady the wild pulse of magic. The remnant snapped outward, shadows whipping like tendrils. One struck the ground, another struck a booth. A third shot toward Flora Bloom thrust the mirror up at the last second. A beam of pale, reflective light burst from the mirror's surface, slicing through the shadow's arm. The remnant shrieked again, its form unraveling at the edges like smoke caught in a storm. Then everything went silent. The shadow collapsed inward, folding like a swallowed wave, and vanished completely, leaving nothing but a drifting puff of cold air. The lanterns steadied overhead. The night market slowly returned to life. Magic resumed its glow. Sound came back in gentle layers, chimes, whispers, soft laughter from vendors who seemed unaware of what had just taken place. Bloom lowered the mirror, breathing hard. Tecna scanned the area. It didn't die. It retreated. Great, Stella said, hands on hips. So round one was a dramatic blackout attack, and round two will probably involve, what, jump scares, exploding shadows? I need time to moisturize if this keeps going. The vendor approached them, her expression grave. Fairies. Whatever hunts, you won't stop. Not until the crack between realms is fully open. Bloom felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. Then tell us, she said. What realm? What crack? What is this thing trying to reach? The vendor hesitated, and then with a voice heavy with fear, she whispered, The shadow realm of the first fairies. A place no light has touched since the beginning of magic itself. The girls exchanged stunned, frightened glances, and above them, unseen in the highest lantern shadow, something stirred. Night settled over Alfea with a stillness so complete the air itself felt enchanted. After returning from the night market, shaken, breathless, and still buzzing with questions, the Winx found it impossible to sleep. Even with the warm glow of their lanterns, even with the softness of their blankets, the weight of the vendor's warning clung to them like a thin mist. Bloom paced slowly near the window, the null mirror resting against her palm as though it simply belonged there now. Outside, moonlight poured across Alfea's towers in silver-blue waves, illuminating the quiet gardens and crystal pathways. Normally this view calmed her. Tonight it only stirred unease. Behind her, Stella sat cross-legged on her bed, nervously twisting her hair into an updo that immediately fell apart again. Okay, so we're just not going to talk about the whole shadow realm of the first fairies thing, because personally I would like a detailed explanation before any more shadow things try to slap me in the face. Tecna sat by the foot of Flora's bed, analyzing the null mirror through a digital scan projected from her handheld device. Talking isn't the issue, Stella. None of us currently possesses enough data to form an accurate hypothesis. That is literally the problem, Musa sighed, hugging her knees. We're dealing with something none of us understand. Flora reached over and gently touched Musa's arm. Understanding will come. Maybe the vendor was right. Maybe it's tied to something ancient. Something older than our magic. Aisha stood near the door, arms crossed, senses sharp despite the late hour. Whatever it is, it's watching us. I felt it again on the way back, like the air wasn't empty. That quieted the room instantly. Bloom turned from the window, her expression steady but troubled. If it's connected to Alfea or to us, we can't just wait for answers to fall into our laps. The vendor said the crack is opening. That means something's changing, and I think the change might already be happening. As if responding to her words, a faint hum rippled through the walls, soft at first, almost like distant singing. The girls froze. Musa's head lifted. That's not a vibration, that's melody. Flora's eyes widened. Alfea shouldn't be giving off magic like that on its own. Unless, Tecna muttered, scanning the walls, there's an active magical disturbance within the school. The hum grew clearer, resonating with gentle pulses that drifted through the dorm like sighs of moonlight. It didn't feel threatening. It felt inviting. A soft glow appeared outside their window, small, floating, and familiar. The same glow from the first night of their sleepover. The one Flora insisted wasn't dangerous. It drifted slowly across the courtyard, slipping between beams of moonlight, pausing at the archway that led deeper into the school's oldest halls. Bloom's breath caught. It's calling us. Aisha pushed off the door, determination hardening her stance. Then we follow it, because I am not letting some shadow creature roam our school while we sit here braiding each other's hair. Stella huffed. I wasn't braiding, I was stress styling. But she stood up anyway. The glow pulsed once, like a heartbeat, and floated away down the corridor. Without another word, Bloom grabbed the null mirror. Tecna gathered her scan device. Musa conjured a soft sound bubble around them to keep footsteps quiet. Flora's vines lifted gently, swaying at her command. Aisha summoned a faint water orb for lighting. Stella created a tiny star lamp that hovered over her shoulder, dim but warm. And together, they stepped silently out into Alfea's nighttime halls. The moment they crossed the threshold, everything changed. The corridor was bathed in deep blue light, shadows stretching like long ribbons across the floor. Floating runes drifted above their heads, glowing faintly with ancient text neither Tecna nor Bloom could decipher. Portraits along the walls whispered in hushed voices, their painted eyes following the fairies as though recognizing them. Musa swallowed. Okay, this is new. Since when does Alfea do spooky midnight magic mode? It doesn't, Tecna said softly, eyes darting from rune to rune. This is triggered, activated by something. The glow drifted farther down the hall, turning a corner. Aisha whispered, "Stay close." They followed, their steps quiet, their breaths careful, as the school around them seemed awake, dreamlike and ancient. Somewhere beyond the next corridor, a gentle pulse of magic echoed through the air. The glow moved again, and the Winx followed it deeper, deeper into the sleeping heart of Alfea. The corridor tightened around them, the deeper they went. the air cooling into a still, hushed silence that reminded Bloom of being underwater. The floating glow drifted ahead of them patiently, pausing every few steps as if making sure they were still following. Their footsteps echoed softly along the crystalline tiles, each tap sounding louder in the otherwise sleeping school. Stella hugged her arms around herself, her star lamp bobbing nervously. Okay, I know Alfea is old and magical and whatever, but I don't remember signing up for the haunted museum part of the tour. Aisha gave a tiny, amused scoff. You scream at spiders, Stella. And? Spiders should not be eight-legged jump-scare machines. I stand by this. Bloom smiled faintly, but her attention stayed fixed on the null mirror. Its surface had begun to flicker again, not violently like at the night market, but almost curiously, like it sensed something close. A gentle ripple moved across the glass, bending the reflection of the hallway into soft waves. Bloom, Tecna whispered, stepping closer. The readings from the mirror are stabilizing, not spiking. That means whatever is ahead is not hostile. Let's hope your calculations are right, Musa murmured, brushing her fingers along the wall. Soft vibrations hummed under her touch. This place is humming like a lullaby. Flora exhaled slowly, her voice soft. It feels like the school is trying to show us something, guide us. They turned another corner and the hallway shifted. Literally shifted. The ceiling arched higher, transforming from carved stone into translucent crystal that caught the moonlight and scattered it in gentle streaks across the walls. The portraits became older, centuries older, painted in colors so faded they were almost ghostly. The subjects in them were not current fairies, nor even known ones. Their wings were shaped differently, ancient, delicate, holding designs lost to modern fairy magic. One portrait in particular caught Bloom's eye, a fairy with vast, curved wings that looked like woven moonbeams, her expression calm and knowing. Her eyes, though painted, felt alive, as if she were looking directly at them. When Musa stepped past it, the painting whispered, "Welcome back, children of light." Stella gasped. Nope, no talking paintings tonight. I haven't got the emotional stamina." But the glow drifted onward, undeterred. The girls exchanged glances, fearful, fascinated, uncertain, before continuing. The farther they walked, the more alive the corridor felt. Runes floated lower, brushing against their shoulders like drifting feathers. Vines of soft silver light curled along the floor, unfurling with each step they took. The air hummed with warmth. Flora's expression softened as she knelt beside one glowing vine. "This isn't plant magic," she whispered, brushing it gently. "It's memory magic." Memory?" Stella stammered. "Like the walls are remembering stuff?" "Yes," Flora nodded, standing again. "And they're sharing it with us." Bloom held the mirror closer to herself. "But why? What does Alfea want us to see?" A faint sound echoed from up ahead, like a door unlocking. They followed it until the hallway opened into a wide archway. The glow slipped through the arch without hesitation, and then it vanished. Bloom stepped forward cautiously, her lantern light spilling into the room beyond. Musa let out a quiet breath. Whoa. They stood at the entrance of a grand chamber, vast, circular, and unlike any section of Alfea they had ever seen. The floor was made from shimmering stone that reflected the room like water. Tall pillars curved upward into the ceiling, their surfaces engraved with spiraling patterns that pulsed faintly with white-blue magic. Hundreds of small floating objects drifted through the air. Shells, crystals, tiny globes of stardust, scraps of parchment that read themselves in quiet whispers. Books fluttered open and closed like birds. Star globes spun softly. Their lights swirling with dreamlike constellations. Flora pressed her hand to her heart. This place feels sacred. Aisha walked slowly beneath a floating conch shell. It released a soft, warm memory into the room. A child fairy giggling as a young professor cast her first spell. Aisha's eyes softened. These are real memories. From Alfea. From everyone who ever learned here. Stella spun slowly, her fear fading into awe. It's like the school's alive. It is, Tecna said softly, scanning with her device. This wing is powered by an ancient core of fairy magic. Older than any recorded era. I'm picking up traces of first fairy signatures. Bloom's grip tightened on the mirror. Then this place is connected to the Shadow Realm, too. The chamber grew warmer for a moment, as if acknowledging her words. Then a drift of soft, glowing particles gathered near the far side of the room. They swirled, twisted, and slowly formed a shape. A figure, tall, gentle, and radiating pale golden light. Wings like translucent moonstones spread out behind her, shimmering with quiet power. Her entire presence was calm, soothing, like a dream wrapped in sunrise. Flora gasped softly. Musa stopped breathing. Stella forgot how to blink. The figure spoke with a voice that sounded like a breeze across silver bells. Do not fear, Winx. You have been brought here for a reason. Bloom stepped forward, heart pounding. Who, are you? The glowing figure tilted her head, light rippling softly across her wings. I am the spirit of Alfea, the guardian of what remains, and the keeper of what once was. Bloom's breath caught. Aisha whispered, Oh, school has a spirit. The spirit smiled gently. And tonight, she said, it is time for you to see what sleeps beneath your world. The spirit's presence filled the chamber with a soft, golden warmth, like stepping into a sunrise that wasn't meant to blind, but to reassure. Every flicker of her wings sent ripples through the floating memory objects, causing them to glow brighter, swirl closer, and hum with gentle resonance. The girls instinctively moved nearer, quiet, reverent, almost holding their breath. Bloom felt as though her entire chest had loosened for the first time since the night market. The spirit's voice was ancient, but not distant. Powerful, but not frightening. It felt maternal, protective, like Alfea itself had wrapped an arm around them. Why are we here? She asked softly, the null mirror warm in her grip. The spirit stepped closer, her light shifting patterns across the floor like soft water. Because your hearts still hold peace within them, even in fear. And because the shadows that follow you seek more than chaos. They seek a door. Tecna swallowed as her digital holoscreen flickered with unstable readings. A door into our world? Through the mirror? The spirit nodded. Through many things, shadows do not break in. They find cracks in what is already weakened. Flora's eyes softened with concern. But why Alfea? Why now? The spirit lifted her hand. A cluster of drifting star globes floated down toward her, each one flickering with old memories like captured moonlight. For centuries, this school has stood where realms overlap. Light meets darkness, past meets future, hope meets fear. It is a crossroads of magic. Most nights the balance holds, but tonight, her wings dim just slightly. Tonight the veil is thin, and something ancient has stirred. A faint ripple trembled through the chamber, and Bloom felt the null mirror pulse in response, almost like a heartbeat. The spirit looked directly at her. You have touched the crack more than the others. Bloom's pulse skipped. Because of the mirror? No. The spirit stepped closer, tilting her head. Because of your fire. Your magic is both born of light and tied to the old... flames of creation. The shadows recognize your spark, and they are curious. Stella shivered dramatically. I vote we go back to the part where the school was just glowing cutely outside our window. Musa snorted, but her voice remained afraid. Same. Flora moved toward one of the drifting globes as it descended, as if inviting her touch. When her fingers brushed it, the globe burst softly into a swirling vision, a memory not of Alfea, but of Flora herself. She gasped. She saw her childhood garden on Linfea, flowers blooming around her tiny hands as she shaped her first vines. She saw her mother smiling proudly, her younger self laughing brightly, her sisters chasing butterflies at her stack. The memory shimmered like soft sunlight through leaves. Flora pressed a hand over her mouth. Tears welled in her eyes, not sad tears, but the kind born from remembering something so warm it almost hurt. The spirit spoke gently. Each of you holds a memory that can anchor you in the storm to come. Another globe drifted toward Aisha. She reached out, hesitant, and when it touched her palm, it bloomed into an image of a young Aisha training tirelessly on Andros, falling into the water again and again, only to rise stronger each time. The vision played like a soft rhythm, waves curling around her as if protecting her. Aisha exhaled shakily. I'd forgotten how hard I worked back then, and how proud I was of every step. Musa's globe descended next, blooming into her childhood bedroom filled with old music devices and glowing sound orbs. Little Musa danced awkwardly to her mother's songs, her mother smiling gently, humming along. Musa's breath hitched, and she instinctively hugged her arms around herself. The spirit's voice wrapped around her like a blanket. Music binds your heart to strength. Stella tried to pretend she wasn't waiting for hers, but when a shimmering sun-petal globe floated down, she reached for it immediately. It burst into a memory of her and her mother laughing during a Solarian festival, sunlight swirling around them as Stella clung to her hand with unguarded joy. Stella blinked rapidly, trying not to tear up. I did not sign up for emotional ambush. Tecna's globe flickered with a pixelated light, forming a memory of her first invention, a tiny, clunky hologram projector that barely worked. She watched her younger self smile shyly as her father applauded. Her lips softened into a rare, warm smile. Bloom waited silently, her heart thudding as the last globe drifted toward her. When it touched her fingers, a blaze of soft orange light burst outward, forming a warm vision of her adoptive parents back on Earth. Her mom laughing in the kitchen, her dad trying to fix a flickering light bulb as Bloom lit it accidentally with a sneeze of fire. She saw her younger self, unsure, scared, yet loved so completely. Her throat tightened. The spirit stepped back as all 6 visions hovered in the chamber, circling like drifting constellations. These memories are not shown to burden you, she said, but to remind you peace is strength. And tonight, you will need every bit of that strength. Bloom lifted her gaze. Because of the shadow that attacked us. The spirit's wings dimmed again, just slightly, like a candle touched by wind. No, Bloom, she paused, because there is more than one. A freezing pulse cut through the chamber. A shadow flickered in the far corner. The null mirror rang in Bloom's hand like a struck bell. The spirit turned sharply. "It has found you." And the chamber darkened. The spirit of Alfea's wings shimmered softly as the girls watched the visions of their pasts and futures linger in the drifting globes of light. Bloom's chest felt warm, a comforting fire settling within her, as if the spirit's presence had sown a quiet courage directly into her heart. Each girl remained mesmerized by the memories, the laughter, the small victories, the gentle lessons from their earliest days at Alfea. Even Stella, who usually squirmed at anything too sentimental, held her star lamp steady, her eyes wide in awe. "You've seen the strength within you," the spirit said, her voice like a melody that lingered in the air. "And tonight, that strength will guide you. Peace is as powerful as any spell, as protective as any shield." Flora leaned forward, letting her fingers trace the edges of a floating petal globe. "It feels like the school itself is alive, watching over us." "Yes." The spirit nodded, her light rippling softly across the chamber. "Alfea remembers all who learn here. It watches, protects, and whispers to those who listen. The glow you followed, the corridors you walked, they were never just hallways. They are pathways of knowledge, of memory, and of peace. You have now walked them at the right moment." Aisha exhaled, letting the tension she hadn't realized she'd carried slip away. "It's beautiful. I feel like I've been holding so much in my mind, and now it's lighter." Tecna's analytical gaze softened, and the null mirror confirmed what the spirit said. "Nothing here is dangerous when approached with intention and understanding. Even the shadows we fear can be seen clearly with perspective." Musa hummed softly, her own melody mingling with the gentle magic in the chamber. "It's like everything we were afraid of, everything unknown. It doesn't seem so scary anymore." Stella leaned back, letting her star lamp float above her shoulder, casting a warm golden glow over the circle of fairies. "Okay, fine. I admit it. This is magical, and safe, and actually really cool." The spirit of Alfea smiled gently. "You have been shown visions of who you were and who you can become. Let them guide you, and remember, the peace you carry in your hearts is as important as the battles you fight outside these walls. Always let it shine." Bloom lifted the null mirror in a soft arc, the surface rippling one last time as if acknowledging the spirit's words. The glow that had led them here pulsed gently, then drifted slowly toward the chamber entrance. The hallways around them shimmered faintly, guiding the girls toward the door that would lead back to their dormitory. One by one, the Winx followed the path back, walking silently but with a sense of serene purpose. The floating globes of memories faded, leaving only soft, ambient light in the corridors. The runes above them hummed softly, a quiet farewell from the ancient magic of the school. Flora paused at the final archway, her hand brushing the walls that had held so many secrets. "Goodbye. For now," she whispered, a smile touching her lips. Bloom glanced at her friends. "We're ready," she said quietly. And together, the Winx stepped back into the familiar warmth of their dormitory, the magical corridors and the spirit's gentle watchfulness fading behind them. As the door closed, the air in the room settled into a gentle calm. Every blanket, every pillow, every enchanted lamp seemed to embrace them. They were tired, yes, but their hearts felt lighter, fuller, and safer than they had all night. The girls shared soft smiles, settling back into their floating beds, the warmth of the night lingering like a soft glow in their souls. Outside the window, the faint shimmer of the school's magic faded, leaving only quiet peace. And thus, the Winx knew Alfea wasn't just a school. It was a home, a guardian, and a reminder that even heroes needed nights of calm wonder, and friendship. The dormitory was quiet now, bathed in the soft glow of Stella's star lamps and the gentle shimmer of Aisha's water orbs. The magical chaos of the day had settled into a tender calm, and the girls sank into the warmth of their floating beds, blankets curling around them like enchanted clouds. The null mirror rested safely on Bloom's nightstand, its surface reflecting only the soft lights of the room, a silent reminder of the journey they had just taken through Alfea's secret halls. Bloom stretched her arms over her head and let out a long sigh. "I didn't realize how much I needed this," she murmured, her eyes softening as she looked around at her friends. "A night like this, it makes everything else seem lighter." Stella rolled onto her side, hugging her pillow. "I'll admit it," she said, a voice almost sleepy. "Tonight was magical. And okay, fine. I didn't even mind all the floating globes and visions, mostly." Musa, curled beneath her enchanted blanket, plucked at the strings of a tiny harp she had conjured earlier. A soft melody floated through the room, each note mingling with the dim glow, carrying a sense of warmth and comfort. Even her usually restless energy seemed to settle into a rhythmic calm, her eyes half closed as she let the music lull her. Flora leaned back into the cushions, letting her flowers release a gentle, sleepy fragrance that drifted across the room. Each petal shimmered faintly, humming a quiet, harmonic lullaby that resonated with everyone. "It's amazing," she whispered, "how something so simple can feel like magic. Just like that." Tecna adjusted a small panel of her floating gadgets, setting the lights into a gentle sleep mode. Her precise movements were softened by the stillness of the room, and a rare, serene smile tugged at her lips. "Everything is aligned," she said quietly, "perfectly balanced for rest." Aisha's water orb floated near the ceiling, its gentle motion cooling the air just enough to make the beds feel perfectly cozy. She lay on her back, arms behind her head, eyes following the rippling reflections dancing across the walls. "It's nice," she murmured, "to just breathe, to let the magic carry us for a little while instead of fighting it." Bloom watched each of them, her heart swelling with affection. She thought of the spirit's words, of the visions she had seen in the hidden chamber. Strength wasn't just in fighting shadows or mastering spells. It was also in moments like this, in trust, in friendship, in allowing yourself to simply be safe and cared for. The soft sounds of the night filled the dorm. The gentle hum of the enchanted lamps, the distant whisper of leaves brushing against the window, Musa's melody mingling with Flora's petal hum. Even Stella's soft breathing became a comforting rhythm, blending seamlessly with the magic of the room. Bloom closed her eyes, letting the warmth of the moment settle into her chest. She pictured her family, her friends, the battles they had fought, and the calm she now carried within herself. The null mirror glimmered faintly in the soft lamplight, its magic dormant, watching, protective. Slowly the others followed suit. Stella snuggled deeper into her blanket, humming softly. Flora rested her hands atop her flowers, closing her eyes. Musa's melody softened into a gentle whisper of sound. Tecna's breathing became steady and even. Aisha's water orb dimmed to a calming glow, tracing gentle patterns above their heads. The dormitory had become a haven of light, warmth, and magic. The night stretched peacefully around them, the kind of night that promised dreams filled with courage, joy, and quiet wonder. Bloom's last conscious thought before drifting into sleep was simple but profound. We are safe. We are together. And tomorrow will be brighter. The room grew softer, as if the magic itself was sighing, settling into every corner with tender precision. Bloom lay beneath her floating blanket, feeling the gentle warmth of the enchanted fabric curling around her shoulders, as though the bed itself were embracing her. The null mirror rested quietly nearby, its reflective surface calm, no longer pulsing with urgent energy. It was a quiet sentinel, a reminder of the night's adventures and of the protection Alfea itself offered its students. Stella let her star lamp drift above her, the soft golden light swaying slowly as if in time with her own heartbeat. She yawned, stretching lazily. "I think this is my favorite part," she whispered, "when the magic isn't sparkling or screaming, when it's just cozy." Her usual flair was subdued, replaced with the simple satisfaction of being surrounded by friends she trusted completely. Musa's fingers continued to dance over the strings of her tiny harp, though now the melody had softened into a lullaby. The notes floated lightly across the room, each one a tiny ripple that caused the enchanted blankets to sway gently. She closed her eyes, letting the sound wrap around her like a soft, protective cloak. For once, she didn't feel the need to fill the silence with words or energy. She simply listened. Flora smiled faintly, resting her chin on her hands as her flowers released their subtle, fragrant hum. The petals drifted lazily in the air, catching the soft glow of Stella's lamp and refracting it into tiny rainbows. She inhaled the comforting scent, a mixture of jasmine and mint, and felt her heart slow. "It's perfect," she murmured. "No battles, no worries, just us." Tecna adjusted the small floating panels above her bed one last time, ensuring that every light, every sparkle, every soft glow was exactly in place. Her meticulous nature found satisfaction, not in perfection, but in the quiet harmony she had helped create. "Everything is balanced," she said softly, almost to herself, "exactly as it should be." Aisha floated a small water orb near the ceiling, its surface shimmering like liquid starlight. The orb reflected the other lights in the room, casting soft patterns onto the walls and ceiling. She watched the reflections shift slowly, fascinated by the gentle dance of illumination. Finally, she leaned back into her bed, closing her eyes. "It's nice," she whispered, "to let the magic carry us, instead of chasing it." Bloom's gaze lingered on her friends, a warm smile touching her lips. She thought of the spirit of Alfea, of the hidden halls they had explored, and of the visions of the past and future they had seen. Strength, courage, and love were not only found in battles and spells, they were here, in this moment of quiet companionship, in the simple act of being together, safe and understood. Soft magic filled the room, drifting like stardust through the air. The floating pillows swayed gently, the blankets shimmered faintly with protective enchantments, and the lanterns above flickered in a slow, peaceful rhythm. Every sound was muffled but comforting. The hum of the magical devices, the soft rustle of petals from Flora's flowers, the distant whisper of the wind against the windows. One by one, the girl's breathing deepened, harmonizing with the gentle energy of the room. Bloom felt her eyelids grow heavy, a calm warmth settling over her chest. Stella's gentle snore punctuated the quiet, Musa's lullaby fading into nothing more than a whisper, and the petals of Flora's flowers floated downward, brushing softly against the blankets. Even Tecna's analytical mind quieted, content in the rhythm of the night. Aisha's water orb dimmed to a faint gleam, its reflections slowing, merging with the soft light of the star lamps. Bloom closed her eyes fully, letting the warmth and magic of her friends wrap around her like a cocoon. For the first time that night, all worries and shadows felt distant. They had ventured into the unknown, faced unseen forces, and returned stronger, not just as fairies, but as friends who could trust each other completely. And as the room drifted into perfect stillness, a soft glow lingered just outside the window, a gentle reminder that Alfea was always watching, always protecting, and that peaceful nights like this one were just as important as any heroic day. The dormitory was now wrapped in a blanket of absolute calm. The gentle glow of Stella's star lamps combined with the soft shimmer of Aisha's water orbs and the faint, fragrant hum of Flora's flowers filled the room with a magical serenity. Bloom lay quietly, her chest rising and falling in a slow rhythm, the warmth of the null mirror nearby a silent reassurance. The adventures of the night, the secret hallways, the spirit of Alfea, and the visions they had all seen felt safely tucked away into memory like a story stored for quiet reflection. Musa's soft melody continued to float through the air, though she no longer strummed her harp. The notes lingered around her friends, gently wrapping each of them in a cocoon of comfort. Her eyelids drooped as she allowed herself to sink into the magic, letting the gentle vibrations of her own song soothe her restless thoughts. Even Stella, usually full of restless energy, relaxed into her bed, hugging her pillow as if it were a comforting talisman. Flora's flowers continued their slow, hypnotic dance above the beds. Each petal glimmered faintly in the soft light, releasing delicate waves of warmth and calm that drifted toward her friends. She closed her eyes, imagining herself back in her childhood garden, the scents and colors of Alfea blending with the magical energy surrounding them. A smile curved her lips as she thought of how much she loved these quiet moments with the people she trusted most. Tecna, ever precise, had relaxed into the rhythm of the room. She allowed herself to release the constant calculations, letting the gentle glow of her floating panels guide her toward rest. Her mind, usually busy with analysis, now floated free with the soft magic around her. Every soft flicker of light, every subtle hum of energy seemed to resonate perfectly with her heartbeat. Aisha's water orbs swayed gently above the beds, the liquid surface casting shimmering reflections across the walls. She let herself float partially into dreamlike thought, imagining the oceans of Andros under starlight, the waves gently lapping as if singing to her. The soft ripples of her orb mirrored her own calm breathing, reinforcing the tranquil rhythm of the room. Bloom, feeling the warmth and magic of her friends surrounding her, finally allowed herself to close her eyes completely. The memories shown by the spirit of Alfea lingered in her mind. The laughter of her friends, the gentle guidance of the school, the strength she carried within herself. She felt her worries melt, her fears retreating into the background, leaving only the soft, glowing certainty that she was safe and loved. Outside, the moonlight poured softly through the windows, blending with the magical glow within. The room seemed suspended between night and dream, a world where every sound, scent, and shimmer worked together to create perfect peace. The gentle swaying of the floating beds, the faint hum of enchanted petals, the soft shimmer of magical orbs, all formed a lullaby that was both real and magical. Slowly, one by one, the girls drifted deeper into sleep. Stella's golden lamp tilted slightly as she sighed contentedly. Musa's melody became a faint whisper. Flora's flowers settled above her bed like soft blankets of light. Tecna's panels dimmed to a perfect, gentle glow. Aisha's orb finally stilled, its surface reflecting the serene faces of the friends below. Bloom lay last, a smile on her lips, feeling the magic of the night settle around her like stardust. She allowed herself to drift into dreams, carrying the warmth of friendship, the lessons of the spirit, and the gentle promise that Alfea would always watch over them. The dormitory was still. The night was perfect, and the fairies slept, cradled by magic, safety, and love. The dormitory had settled into a silence so soft it felt like a gentle heartbeat. The faint glow of Stella's star lamps cast tiny pools of light across the floating beds, while Aisha's water orb shimmered with calm, slow ripples that mirrored the breathing of the girls beneath. Flora's flowers hung above, releasing their delicate fragrance and faint hums, like whispered lullabies that mingled with the residual melodies of Musa's soft music. Every corner of the room shimmered with gentle magic, wrapping the Winx in warmth and safety. Bloom lay beneath her enchanted blanket, the null mirror resting quietly nearby. Her mind wandered softly through the memories shown to her by the spirit of Alfea, the laughter, the quiet courage, the promise of growth. For the first time that night, she felt completely at ease. Every worry and fear had melted away, leaving only the gentle glow of friendship, love, and security. Her eyes fluttered closed, letting the peace fill her entirely. Stella, always lively and dramatic, had succumbed to the quiet as well. Her star lamp bobbed softly above her, reflecting a golden glow that shimmered across her peaceful face. She sighed contentedly, curling into her pillow. Her usual energy softened into a gentle, almost sleepy calm. Even her vibrant personality seemed to merge perfectly with the serene magic of the room. Musa's melody had faded into the softest whisper of sound, barely more than a hum in the background. Her fingers rested lightly on the harp, no longer playing, as she surrendered to the embrace of the night. Her breathing matched the rhythm of the floating beds, her mind drifting into quiet dreams filled with music, laughter, and the comforting presence of her friends. Flora's flowers drifted lazily, petals brushing gently against the enchanted blankets, as if they were tucking the fairies in. She inhaled the fragrance one last time before closing her eyes, letting the soft vibrations of the petals and the lingering warmth of the night carry her toward gentle dreams. Her heart felt calm, full, and protected, as though the garden of her past had blended with the magic of the present. Tecna's floating panels dimmed slowly, their calculated glow softening into complete serenity. She lay back, letting the room's energy cradle her with precise yet comforting rhythm. For once, her mind was quiet, not planning, not analyzing, just breathing in the calm magic around her. Aisha's water orb settled above the group, its surface still and radiant, casting soft reflections that danced faintly across the walls. The ripples of light merged with the other soft glows in the room, creating a subtle constellation of magic above the Winx as they drifted deeper into sleep. Bloom felt a final gentle pulse of magic from the null mirror, almost like a sigh of contentment from the school itself. Alfea's spirit had guided them, shown them visions of strength and calm, and now watched over them as they rested. Every shadow, every worry of the day had melted into soft starlight. One by one, each fairy's breathing slowed, synchronizing with the rhythm of the dormitory's gentle magic. Stella's golden lamp flickered once, then settled. Musa's melody vanished completely, leaving a soft hum in its place. Flora's petals drooped slightly, heavy with peace. Tecna's panels glowed faintly, steady and serene. Aisha's orb dimmed to the softest shimmer, reflecting the calm of the room. Bloom let herself float in the embrace of her enchanted blanket, feeling the warmth of friendship, love, and magical protection settle fully around her. The night was quiet. The school's glow outside the window faded to soft moonlight, and the Winx slept, cradled in magic, serenity, and the gentle certainty that tomorrow would be brighter, because of the peace they had shared tonight. The lanterns dimmed one by one, the room still glowing softly with residual magic, hummed a silent lullaby, and Alfea, ancient and wise, watched over its students as they dreamed, knowing the next day would be full of light, laughter, and the magic of friendship renewed. The night ended in perfect calm. The fairy sleepover at Alfea, a memory of warmth, trust, and wonder. A night that would stay with them forever. And just like that, the night has come to an end, like fairy dust. Good night, everyone. May your dreams sparkle just a little brighter. From the heart of Alfea to wherever you're listening,